Well, yeah, I mean, as you say, I'm a multimedia artist, so I do all sorts of creative projects, really, from visual art to spoken word, music. Um, I guess the foundation of my practice is in words. So I started off writing hip hop lyrics when I was like 14, 15 years old. And then from there, kind of went into spoken word. And then that kind of through starting the Urban Music Foundation as well, kind of opened me up to all sorts of different art forms. Which, yeah, now I kind of, as I say, I see myself as a multimedia artist. I don't try and kind of limit my creativity into any specific genre. I feel like kind of different art forms are like different languages that you can use to communicate ideas. And yeah, for me, it's just about kind of finding the right language to communicate the idea that I'm trying to share, basically. So for me, growing up, like as I say, I started writing lyrics when I was about 14, 15, and it was really kind of just something that I picked up without too much thought, but it became a way of kind of processing the world around me. I was going through some difficult times at the time, and it was just really a way that I kind of processed all of that and got through it. And as I got a bit older, I started to realise that this is something that I wanted to share with younger people who were going through the same stuff I was, and try and share some of those skills that kind of helped me through that time. So yeah, I set it up to work in youth clubs and schools and things like that. And over time, I guess it's evolved into, now I see it as a way of connecting people, and connecting people with themselves and each other through creativity. So the main thing is about that connection. So it might be that I'm bringing two organisations to work together on a project, or it might be that I'm bringing together groups of young people from different places, or people from different contexts living in different life circumstances. So yeah, it's really about that connection through creativity, and then that creativity helping those different groups to understand each other, really. Creativity is and creative expression is a really useful, in fact vital tool in helping us understand each other. I think a lot of the time, particularly kind of in the world today where it's so easy to just leave a comment and forget, that you're actually addressing another human being. I think what creativity does, and art, it helps us relate as human beings and share ideas that can't really necessarily be expressed in words. So I think it's a really important skill to learn. I think it's something that everyone can do, but I think it's something that a lot of people are out of practice with. So it's similar to, you think about going to the gym. If you never go to the gym, then you're going to find it difficult to push weights. And it's the same thing. If you haven't tapped into your creativity for a long time, you're going to find that blank page a difficult thing to face. It's still, for me, it's a difficult thing when I see a blank page, and you can put anything on that page, and it can almost make you freeze when you think of all the possibilities of what can go there. But what I do is, I think my job as an artist is to practice ways to get over that blank page and to start using that as a tool to communicate. So I think anything that we can do to support young people and just people in general to kind of express themselves and get those things out of their head and fill in that blank page is going to be a positive thing. If you get two people together in the same space, it's sat around the same table, I think generally they will tend to try and find the things that they've got in common rather than the things that they have different to each other. And I think that's the difference between kind of online and digital and in-person stuff, is that it's, as I said before, it's really easy to forget that another person is on the other side of that screen when you're leaving a comment or sending a message or whatever. And I think when you're sat at the same table, you're in the same space with someone and you see that person there, you start to really connect with, okay, that person has been on a journey the same way as I have to get to this table. And there must be reasons why they think what they think or why they're saying what they're saying. And so it's much easier to relate to each other and understand each other and find common ground, really. So yeah, that's why I really like to kind of try and do things that bring people together into the same space. I think that's why, gigs are important, why exhibitions are important, all of that sort of stuff. Just to remind us that there are other people out there that we can connect with as human beings. For me, I never, having lived in Oxford all my life, I never set foot in a university building until 2022. And I think since then I've really noticed a massive shift in that. So since that point in 2022, when I held a residency at St John's College, I've constantly been involved with projects with various parts of the university since then. So I think I've seen a massive shift in that, in my personal experience, and I think that is partly due to a change in kind of university policy, that they've realised that they want to be more part of the city. Anyone who's lived in Oxford for any amount of time will know about the kind of town and gown divide, and this sort of dynamic between the university and the rest of the city. And I think probably since 2020, the university have become much more aware of that and are trying to address that. I also think there's kind of a shift in academia into recognising the arts as a valid form of kind of research and of knowledge sharing and knowledge interpretation and generation. So I think that's a big part of it as well. So yeah, it's a really fascinating time for me as an artist to be able to engage with all of this research and researchers and things like that. I can remember it so well. When I was still in primary school, it was back in the days of the manor ground. And yeah, my school or my class got given some free tickets actually by the club. And yeah, my class we went on a school trip to the manor to go and watch. It was Oxford v Blackpool, back in the days of like Joey Beecham and that era. And it's just a great experience. I remember being sat, like our seats were right along the sideline of the pitch, like really close to the pitch, and yeah, I just remember singing with my classmates, and even my teacher being there and getting involved in the chants and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, really good memories of going to the manor. I think there was a period where I held a season ticket for a little while as well, down on the London Road stand behind the goal. Yeah, seeing some of the successes, going to Wembley for the promotion, the playoff matches and stuff like that. Yeah, great times. It's just a opportunity to kind of get lost in the moment. I think it's just getting absorbed in like what's happening on the pitch, and also that feeling of having people around. I spoke earlier about that kind of that time of being together in the same space, and just in sharing that moment together. Obviously you never know what's going to happen on the pitch, and that's a big part of it. Sharing that experience, like this evening being with my sons, they're two different ages, and one's just kind of getting into playing the game, one's played the game for a little while, and watched a lot more football with me and stuff like that. So it's really nice to kind of share that moment of like learning about the game and seeing how it's done at a professional level and stuff like that. Obviously that thing of like singing together and like being involved in a crowd that's all kind of wanting the same thing, is like, yeah, it's a feeling you don't really get anywhere else really. I'd compare it to like going to see a gig or something, a concert where you're all singing the same song, you're all focused on what's going on the stage. It's a similar feeling, a bit different, but that's the only thing I think you can really compare it to in my eyes.